I'd like to welcome everyone to the July 1st meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Tonight on the agenda, we have one information report, one item of new business, and 4 other items. Can I get a roll call of commission members, please?
Commissioner Helfrey.
Here.
Commissioner Cohn.
Here.
Commissioner Clayton.
Here.
Commissioner Deffler. Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Rubis. Commissioner Boren.
Here.
Chair Beatty.
Here.
Councilmember Brost. And Mayor Garitano.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We got 6. Let's see. Can I get an approval of the minutes from June 3rd? All right, motion by Commissioner Helfrey, second by Commissioner Cohn. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstain? All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right, does the Department of Planning have any opening remarks?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, if you haven't noticed, there's a new face on the dais. It's Mr. Boren. He is our new commission member from Ward 1, and the department would like to welcome him. I know you all had talked to him prior to tonight's meeting while we were waiting for the 6:30 hour. So welcome, and we appreciate your service. As I say at the end of every year, we can't do this job without you. So thank you all.
All right, thank you. And again, welcome aboard, Mr. Boren. Let's see here. We've got, public comment session. Do we have any cards?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. And before I announce that card, anybody on Zoom who would like to speak during the public comment session, use the raise hand feature. The first speaker card that the department has is Mr. Lusa.
Hi, my name is Richard Lusa. You need my address?
Yes, please.
407 Foxlayer Drive, St. Charles, Missouri. And I'm just speaking on behalf of seeing if we can change the ordinance to have storage lot at our location at the north end of the valley. And I just want to be here if you have any questions for me.
All right.
That's it.
Is that it? All right, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, the department has not received any additional speaker cards. And no one on Zoom has raised their hand yet.
Okay. All right. In that case, let's hear no public hearings. PZ 3-24, Mr. Newberry.
PZ 3-24, City of Wildwood Planning and Zoning Commission, care of Department of Planning, 16860 Main Street, Wildwood, Missouri, 63040. A request for the consideration of possible changes to Chapter 415.030 definitions and Chapter 415.200 M1 and Industrial District Regulations of the City of Wildwood's Code of Ordinances, which would consider allowing additional allowable uses, more specifically self-service storage facilities inclusive of recreational vehicles, boats, trailers, and similar items, such being within the portion of the city designated by its master plan as the industrial area of Wildwood portion of the Chesterfield Valley, Ward 1.
Thank you, Mr. Newberry. Mr. Vinich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the department has prepared for your consideration tonight its information report with recommendation. The Department of Planning would note that this particular item was held at public hearing on June 3rd, our last meeting, and at the conclusion of the public hearing, it was closed and no further comments were offered since that time. The department in its report has identified the history, so to speak, of the Chesterfield Valley area, not just inclusive of the Wildwood portion now, but also the Chesterfield portion and when it was all part of St. Louis County, the unincorporated area. For many years, the properties in the Chesterfield Valley were more used for industrial purposes than, let's say, service, retail, or restaurant. It wasn't until after the 1993 flood that the land use pattern, particularly in the city of Chesterfield, changed, and the development of properties began to focus more on the service, restaurant, and retail. That has never been the case, so to speak, in the portion of the Chesterfield Valley that is under Wildwood's jurisdiction. As is referenced in the report, many of the authorizations that have been done by the city of Wildwood in its portion of the valley have been for true industrial uses. Those include fixed supply services, most recently Kurt's Nursery, and then on Centaur Road, two different landscaping businesses that have been successful there. Also, as part of that zoning and development process, Fence and Deck Depot was approved. And the gentleman that just spoke at the public comment session is the owner of such. So again, the city of Wildwood has viewed the Wildwood portion of the Chesterfield Valley as an industrial area and suitable for industrial uses. I think key amongst all of this is the fact that there is only one industrial district, the M1 industrial district, that can be used to make determinations relative to land use for the planned district, the M3. And in reviewing the requests from Fence and Deck Depot, the department noted that the M1 industrial district did not include what is being requested tonight, which is the self-storage of vehicles like recreational types, boats and trailers. Therefore, the department presented at the public hearing the option for consideration. And tonight, the department is recommending that a new conditional use be added to the M1 industrial district to accommodate this type of activity. Again, from the perspective of the department, adding it to the M1 industrial district means it will only be authorized here in the Wildwood portion of the Chesterfield Valley, and it would require a conditional use permit to be granted by the commission members. As part of that, as you know, the M3 planned industrial district would be the underlying requirement, so a site-specific ordinance with the CUP overlaying that in this particular instance. But tonight, the recommendation is only to add the use to the existing M1 industrial district conditional uses. It is not an authorization of the use of the Fence and Deck Depot property for such an activity. That would ultimately require a separate application and then a review of the M3 planned industrial district, a site-specific ordinance that governs this site, and then the application of a conditional use permit as part of it. So tonight, the department has a favorable recommendation before the commission. And after a motion and second, the department's available to answer any questions regarding the report and the associated recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vunich. Any discussion or motion? Commissioner Helfrey?
I'd make a motion to approve the department's recommendation.
All right, motion by Commissioner Helfrey, seconded by Commissioner Cohn. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Boren,
Agreed.
Commissioner Helfrey,
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn,
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton,
Yes.
Commissioner Depler,
Yes.
Chair Beatty,
Yes.
Councilmember Brost,
Yes.
and Mayor Garitano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, let's see, the Spectrum Tower, Mr. Newberry.
A review and determination regarding the renewal of an existing conditional use permit in the amended C8 Planned Commercial District granted by the City Council via resolution on May 13, 2002 for a telecommunications tower and related equipment shelter, PZ 16-99 Sprint Spectrum LP. The commission must consider renewing this permit on an annual basis. This facility is located on the north side of Clayton Road, east of Strecker Road. Locator number 21U120327, street address 16497 Clayton Road, Ward 2.
All right, thank you, Mr. Newberry. Mr. Vunich.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the department has prepared a report with recommendation relative to the annual renewal for this particular telecommunications tower and equipment shelter. As is referenced in the advertisement, this particular tower is located on the northeast corner of Clayton and Strecker Roads. This particular tower was authorized by a resolution of the City Council many years ago. As has been discussed by the Planning and Zoning Commission over the last couple of years, these annual renewals become point of contention, but discussion in that, are they necessary? And as we talked last year on this same facility, the annual renewal is the best approach to ensure that in that 12-month ensuing period, that the owner of the tower does not forget about the tower and takes care of the tower consistent with the area where it is located. In 2023, there was a list of items that were identified by the Department of Planning that were endorsed by the Planning and Zoning Commission that had to be addressed. Of that list, the good news is the access drive has been resurfaced and looks very good. It's a solid surface, functional, and aesthetically much better than what was there before. Unfortunately, a number of the landscaping items remain unchanged in the most recent inspection in 2024. Those items that remained unchanged between 2023 and now 2024 are identified in the table on page 2 of the report. And as you can see, of the 5 that were identified, 1 has been addressed and 4 have not. However, the department does not believe that the landscaping components necessarily dictate that the service associated with the tower should be discontinued. As we have done in the past, we being the commission and the department recommend that the renewal be processed, but that there be a timeline associated with those activities that are necessary to be completed to bring the site into full compliance. And in this case, the department is recommending 60 days. So the report and the company recommendation simply state that there is work to be done, and that work needs to be completed in 60 days, but the annual renewal should be processed and approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission tonight. There is one caveat to all of this. If that work is not completed, that would mean, for the most part, we've gone almost 18 months without the tower owner completing the requirements that are set forth in the conditional use permit and applied by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Therefore, if the work isn't completed in 60 days, as part of a motion tonight, the department would like the commission to direct the department to basically post the site after that 60-day period for revocation of the permit. The revocation of the permit process does take time and certainly would give additional days, weeks, months to address problems. But I think it's important that if we have it in the conditional use permit, we not be afraid to use it. So the department is recommending the annual renewal. It is recommending that the 4 items identified in the table as non-compliant be addressed in 60 days. And if not, the commission authorizes the posting of the site for potential revocation hearing on the permit. If there are any questions regarding any of those components or the report itself, the department will be glad to try to answer them at this time. Thank you.
All right, Mayor Garitano.
Director Vunich, thank you for the report here. I agree with your approach that we have to make sure that these items that are in your report are addressed. It is a high visibility site along Clayton Road, which sees a significant amount of traffic. So one question I have is, do you think the 60 days is a good number regarding, especially around the landscaping, or do you think they'll come back and say that they want to push it out because of the hot weather?
Certainly, we're in that kind of gray area at the start of September versus, let's say, the end of September, an additional 30 days. I would hope that they would then contact the department and explain that they would prefer to plant in a more favorable time. And so if the commission is willing, we could give 90 days, which would take it to the end of September.
How would the department feel? What is your position? Do you feel the 60 days will work, or if they have a plan, is that significant enough for you to be comfortable?
Either way, but from the perspective of the department, if you all feel more comfortable that there's a hard line in the sand, so to speak, and that's 90 days versus 60 days, the department would have no objection to changing it to that longer period of time.
There's none that I'm aware of over there, so that's the only thing I'm concerned about is they'll come back saying, well, we can't address some of the landscaping, the dead trees, because they're waiting for cooler temperatures and, some more rainfall. So we don't want to set it up for failure if they're
That was
trying
kind
to
of my
plant in
thought.
August.
Commissioner Cohen?
You're asking for longer than 60 days, but what we're really asking for is, it's already been 12 months. I have no objection to an extension, but my question is, if they don't perform and you do, post the site for a violation, is there an impact, like a fine or something like that associated to be in a position to have their permit revoked?
Well, certainly the department could issue a warning notice now, placing the tower owner under notice that they are in violation of the conditions of the permit. What we would typically do is give a reasonable time to address the violations that are noted in the notice for issuing a summons. And from that perspective, the thought was we're probably going to be in the same ballpark, somewhere between 60 and 90 days. So from that perspective, we thought the revocation carries a little bit more weight in that certainly it's a challenge to revocate a permit for an active telecommunication site, but we can't just stand by. And taking them to municipal court is a solution, but municipal court takes months and months of time. And then the outcome of municipal court could be up to a $200 fine. So, and then we start the process all over again. So to the department, the revocation carries a little bit more authority with it. And we'd like to think that when push came to shove, the tower owner would be more inclined to address it sooner than later under the threat of revocation.
So it's simple to say then, it'd be better to face the prospect of revocation rather than, okay, here's $200, I'll kick it down the road. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Mayor Garitano?
Yeah, so maybe what I'm thinking here is if we do stay with the 60 days, that would give them till September 1st. And so would that automatically occur, or would that have to be endorsed by the commission at the next meeting or council? Because maybe there is additional time then for them to address that.
Actually, that's an excellent suggestion, is that we retain the 60 days, but the revocation has to be done at that first meeting in September, the authorization to post. That way, it'll take us at least another month, if not longer, to, well, it would be October, but at the earliest before the matter would be back before the Planning and Zoning Commission. So certainly would get them into the core planting season.
Then I think, yeah, then the 60 days seems like that's the best approach there. And then we can certainly revisit when we discuss the matter in September.
So, Mr. Chair, based upon Mayor Garitano's comments, the department is requesting that the annual renewal be approved, that the items identified as non-compliant with the existing permit be addressed, and that at the first meeting in September, the matter be brought back to the commission for consideration and potential action.
All right, sounds, and Commissioner Helfrey?
I would like to support that recommendation with the revocation the process beginning at the end of 60 days. And as I look at these 4 items that they've not done, 3 of them are just general maintenance that don't depend on the weather. So I support your recommendation with the revocation aspect.
Yes, some of the items can be done in a matter of a day. But I don't know why they weren't done. But we'll do our best to get the compliance. So when we report back to you at the first meeting in September, you can say it's all been addressed. And I do want to note, not only did the department visit the site to do the investigation, our new arborist, Mike Walsh, did a really nice report, I think, for the benefit of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And it's been a welcome asset. He understands trees and what works and what doesn't. So we have a little more ammunition, so to speak, in our report than we typically have it over the past year.
Councilman Brost?
Yeah, has there been any communication with them on these items? And are they reluctant, or is it just something that they just, forgot about? I mean, what would be our practice? Did we contact them and they said, forget it, we're not doing it, or what?
Well, I'll defer to Mr. Newberry. He usually has contact more so than I with some of the representatives, in this case, Crown Castle. But after the action of the Planning and Zoning Commission is taken, the report is provided to them. So they have kind of a checklist or punch list of what needs to be done. And we try to make it as detailed as possible, Mr. Brost. But with that, I'll defer to Mr. Newberry.
Councilmember Bros, the department did contact representatives regarding this. As Mr. Vunich said, they get a copy of the report at the time of it last year. And then we did correspond with representatives from the company about doing the resurfacing of the parking lot and then holding off on some of the plantings. And I think the spring season just got away from them for some of the planting items, as well as Mr. Walsh's report. An inspection was not completed until he came on later in the spring. So.
Okay,
But they
thank
did
you.
not, I don't believe they expressed any reluctance to comply or anything like that. I think like you said, they may have just forgotten or got away from them. So thank you.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Helfrey. Is there a second? Seconded by Mayor Garitano. Roll call vote, or any further discussion? All right, roll call vote.
Commissioner Cohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Clayton,
Yes.
Commissioner Depler,
Yes.
Commissioner Boren,
Yes.
Commissioner Helfrey,
Yes,
Chair Beatty,
Yes.
Councilmember Bros,
Yes.
and Mayor Garitano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, let's see here, PZ 3-21. Mr. Newberry.
An overview of major discussion items for the authorized work session of the Planning and Zoning Commission on potential changes to the City of Wildwood's PZ 3-21 City of Wildwood Planning and Zoning Commission on the subdivision and development regulations, which have been under review since 2021, all wards.
Thank you, Mr. Newberry. Mr. Vunich.
Again, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, as you may recall, at the June meeting of this body, the members agreed to hold a work session, a very specific work session relative to the subdivision and development regulations. At that June meeting, there was basically a list of the sections that would be considered as part of the update of the subdivision and development regulations. The department thought it appropriate to kind of maybe drill down a little deeper into those sections and identify some of the things that will be discussed at that work session when scheduled. And so tonight, the department is just providing this information to you so you can, for the most part, review it, take a look at the subdivision and development regulations if you like or not. But these are the main topics that we'll identify in greater detail during that discussion. And as promised at the June meeting, our work sessions go no longer than 2 hours. We have a hard cutoff in terms of time. And the intent of the department is to have additional information that'll make the discussion hopefully on each of those items or the items we do discuss go as quickly as possible and be productive as possible. So tonight, this is just information for you as we prepare for the work session. Also, as part of the report, the department thought it might be beneficial to offer a couple of dates for this work session. I know we are in the summer season and vacations and all other types of activities are pretty prevalent, but we were thinking either July 22nd or July 29th as potential options. They are Monday nights, so it's kind of consistent when the commission meets. And since we meet only once a month now, they are available. And it gives, I think, it allows us to have the meeting and not break up the week that you may have scheduled thereafter. So if there's any preference, if you could email Mr. Newberry tomorrow, or if there's a show of hands tonight, if that would work for what date would work best, we'd be appreciative. Mr. Chair, if there's any questions, the department's available.
All right, thank you, Mr. Runich. Commissioner Helfrey?
Well, I would like the 22nd. I could probably do the 26th, but I would like the 22nd. I'll start the ball rolling there. Anybody wants-
I can do either. Mayor Garitano?
I am not available on the 22nd, but I can do the 29th.
Okay. From anyone on Zoom want to speak up?
I'm good on either date.
I also am not available on the 22nd, but would be on the 29th.
I'm good on either date.
All right, sounds like slight preference for the 29th.
Yes, so there's no objection. We'll schedule the 29th. As with any meeting, don't feel bad if you can't attend. Schedules are busy and we do the best we can because the building's used a lot as well. So the 29th, we'll send out a confirmation tomorrow with some of the details, and I'll attach this report as part of it so you have it in electronic form as well. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, Commissioner Broyles has resigned from the commission, and she was serving as the liaison to the Historic Preservation Committee. So I guess I need to appoint a new person.
Well, our bylaws state that the liaison to the Historic Preservation Commission is appointed by the chair of the commission. I have a question for the city attorney. And I recall that there was some kind of discussion recently that the mayor appoints all liaisons. So I'm just making sure that I'm not doing something wrong here, following the bylaws. So Mr. Young, if you wouldn't mind, I could use your help, sir.
Yes, my recollection is the last amendment to that commission, it did clarify that the mayor makes that appointment. Now, that would not preclude the commission from making a recommendation of who's available or willing.
2 key points, Mr. Young. Thank you. So, a couple of things with that clarification tonight. If there is somebody of the group that would like to serve as liaison to the Historic Preservation Commission, I think the mayor's here and listening. And then at our next meeting, we'll have an amendment to our bylaws prepared so we're consistent with the changes that have been made to the underlying regulations for our Historic Preservation Commission. So are there any volunteers, or if you want to think about it, I think you can just contact Mayor Garitano and he'll be glad to consider it.
Sounds good. Yeah, I was under the impression that voting members had to be appointed by the mayor, but non-voting members didn't need to be, but I don't know what else happened other than that.
Yeah. And as I say, we'll stick with the bylaws until such time as they're amended. But I remember that being a discussion, and I just didn't know, I didn't remember, and I obviously didn't check the ordinance, so my apologies, but I knew Mr. Young would throw that safety net out for the department.
Sounds good. All right, and so now we need to form the nominating committee of planning and zoning commission officers for the calendar year 24-25.
Yes. Again, from our bylaws, as the chair so eloquently introduced, we form a nominating committee to consider potential candidates for the three officer positions on the commission, chair, vice chair, and secretary. And so tonight, if possible, if there are three members that would like to participate, the chair is always an ex facto member as well, so there's typically four in the meeting. And if they're want an opportunity to think about it, we can do this at the August meeting with the conclusion and this no later than September. So it's really, if there's three of you that like to volunteer tonight, I'm sure the chair would accept those nominations. If there's not, we can wait until August. Thank you.
Commissioner Cohn?
Travis, do I term out real soon?
Yes, sir.
Do you know when that is?
I believe this is June 2024, and the clerk has notified Mayor Garitano about.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, let me back up.
2020.
Excuse me. Term out is not for me to determine. I'll
Okay.
defer to Mr. Young and the mayor on that, but your term expires, your 4-year term expires June 2024.
Well, I've then completed 2 4-year terms. So at that time, will I be eligible to remain a member of P and Z?
I'll defer to the mayor and Mr. Young.
Yeah, I need to check into that to see, because we did implement that rule a couple years back, so we'll have to follow up.
The good news, Commissioner Cohn, is my understanding, and Mr. Young will correct me if I'm wrong, you can continue to serve until replaced or reappointed.
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
So are there any volunteers, Commissioner Helfrey? Anyone else want to join?
You're still
I'll
here.
We have
I think we
three.
have three.
Mr. Chair, do you accept the three nominations?
I do.
Righty. So we'll contact you about scheduling a meeting sometime between now and the August commission.
Commissioner Helfrey?
Mr. Vinich, are we able to do that via Zoom?
Yes, we've
Yes.
done that the past couple of years, and it seems to work really well because we can tailor the meeting to everyone's schedule a little better.
Perfect, thank you.
And the last couple have gone really fast. This one may take a bit longer.
Thanks to our volunteers.
All right, let's see here. So next on the agenda, PZ 8-23, Mr. Newberry.
An update on the petitions associated with PZ 8-23 and 8A latitude -23 latitude N38 TB Realty and Benton Homes 11605 Stott Avenue, Suite 102, St. Louis, Missouri 63141, which are before the city council under review via an appeal submitted by the petitioners in accordance with the city's zoning ordinance regulations regarding steps in such a process when a recommendation for denial has been made by the Planning and Zoning Commission. This appeal hearing was held by the city council at its meeting on June 13, 2024, with the same being continued until its July 15, 2024 meeting date, Ward 8.
All right, thank you, Mr. Newberry. Mr. Vinich?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the commission, I think one area that the department sometimes fails at is kind of keeping the commission members abreast of what happens after they've made a recommendation relative to a rezoning, an action on a conditional use permit, et cetera. And those actions, as you know, are forwarded then to city council, and then city council has its own process to make the final determinations. There has been a great deal of discussion about latitude North 38. And based upon some comments made by the Planning and Zoning Commission during that process and subsequently, the department thought it'd be appropriate just to give you a summary of kind of the steps in the process, that chronology as it worked its way through the Planning and Zoning Commission to City Council. And then once at City Council, the steps that were taken there in accordance with the formal appeal that was accepted by City Council from the two petitioners. excuse me, TB Realty and Benton Homes. My apologies. And so tonight, this is really just to kind of keep you abreast of what's happening relative to this particular request before the city council. And as noted in the advertisement, the city council will take this matter up, at least in terms of the agenda, on July 15th, its next meeting. At that meeting, the department has been asked to prepare a set of potential conditions that would authorize the project. Those conditions are under review by the city attorney and city administrator, and eventually will be provided to city council for consideration. No decision has been made, and that is the particular reason why it's been carried over to the July meeting of city council. So if there are any questions regarding this matter, I certainly would defer to Mayor Garitano, Councilmember Gross, or myself, and we'll do our very best to answer them if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vernich. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Cohn?
So am I correct? Right now, it's strictly up to the city council. And on the July 15th meeting, if they want to go forward with the approval of the request, does it come back to planning and zoning again? Or does it just come back to us for like site plan approval?
Well, certainly at the June meeting, and Mayor Garitano, please correct me if I say something wrong. At the June meeting, there was a discussion about next steps. And ultimately, some of those next steps can be to refer the matter to committee. It can be a step to refer it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Neither of those receive a motion and action. And so from the perspective of the city council, it chose to keep the matter with the city council and potentially see what a set of conditions relative to a favorable action might entail and include. But yes, the rezoning and the overlay district require legislative actions, and that can only be accomplished by city council. So you are aware, the rezoning of the property just requires a majority, 9 of the 16. The overlay district requires a supermajority, 11 of the 16.
Commissioner Helfrey?
So to follow up on Mr. Cohn's question, I didn't hear you say that assuming that the city council says with your conditions, yes, we pass it, does it come back to us in any form as a site plan or anything else?
Yes, as with any rezoning part of a plan district or overlay district, you will be the ultimate decision-making authority relative to the site development plan and all the components reflected on that set of documents. Also, if the timing is such, the Planning and Zoning Commission may ultimately also make the final decision regarding the architecture of the dwellings themselves. So yes, there is a process still out there if this project were to move forward with the commissions involved.
Questions? Commissioner Helfrey?
I have a question about something else. Is that appropriate? Well, I watched the whole city council meeting for this, and one of the things that came up in the city council meeting unrelated to this was a question about the streets, the alleys being taken over in the one neighborhood by the city. And a homeowner, I guess was a member of that HOA, got up there and said that those streets had not been taken over by the city and they were told they were not going to be. And I just wanted to, I guess, get under a better understanding of that. I thought that we had said that the city had agreed that that the alleys were going to be part of the city streets. So I was hoping that you could kind of fill in the gaps for me, please.
Well, I'll let Mr. Lee explain the second part of the answer to your question. The first part, as you know, the Town Center Update Team, its first action item was to consider accepting private alleys for public maintenance. And ultimately, that was the closest vote of all of the 15 or so that were taken over the course of that year plus period of time. Vote was like 9-6 in support. And so from that perspective, the report from the Town Center Update team went to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning Commission adopted it. And then from there, it was sent to City Council that endorsed and ratified it. But again, it was just a simple statement in the plan document itself. And so from that perspective, then the City Council was charged with creating the steps to implement. And that's where I'll defer to Mr. Lee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Boonish, with the chair's permission.
Go ahead. Mr.
Thank you
Lee.
very much, Mr. Chair. In this case, it's a peculiar case, but also with any alley or street dedication in the town center, it does say within the town center update plan that the city has an overarching goal to adopt and publicly accept all streets and alleys. That being said, the process that was approved by the city council and the policy adopted has two it encompasses all streets and alleys, quite frankly. And one is if it's outside of the town center, if it was a street that was built before 2001, could be considered for potential public acceptance. The other is it located within the town center? So that is the key component. This one obviously is included in the town center. The process includes the petitioner, which in this case would be the subdivision, coming to the city and saying, "Hey, we would like to, give over our alleys or street in this case, but it's an alley." And then at that point, the city would have to prove that the ownership was there. In this case, the HOA was able to prove that. The issue that came in is that after that step has taken place, the city does conduct an inspection of the current conditions of the road or alley in question. The main reason for this is for safeguarding the city in the sense of planning. Just because if you were to accept an alley or a street that might not be in the best of shape, the city would then be getting calls immediately to, either resurface it or make improvements to ensure the safety and functionality of any city-owned street. So in this case, there were some significant issues with the street, needs resurfacing. It has some issues with its sewer system that's currently there, some inlets. And at this time, the city pretty much noted a few different items that would need to be addressed before public acceptance could occur. At this time, those repairs have not been made, and until the repairs are made per the policy, a recommendation to accept them cannot be brought forth in front of the city council. That being said, should those repairs be made, the Department of Public Works would then make a formal recommendation to the city council to abide by the town center update plan to accept them. But then the city council then would still have full discretion on whether or not to accept them or deny them. Let me know if you have any further questions.
I do have questions. First of all, thank you very much for that explanation. And I'm just going by what I watched on the city council video today. But one of the things that this HOA member said was that that they were told that their streets would be accepted, but not the alleys. And I'm just curious why that would be, other than the repairs that you stated. I mean, I thought the whole point of the town center update was that we would accept the alleys. So that's the final question. And once again, thank you for your clarification.
Oh, no problem whatsoever. And thank you for that question. It's a good one. And in this case, yes, all alleys are also in the town center, of course, are also under consideration in this regard. That doesn't mean the city is necessarily going to go after the alleys and force an HOA to give them up an alley if they want to keep it private. That's up to them. But if they were to come up to the city and say, "Hey, we want you to take over our alleys," in this case, we do also provide some snow removal at those alleys as well. The main piece here is that the streets are already owned and operated by the city at this point. The alleys are the last piece in question, but at this time, if we were to accept them now, we would most likely be getting a call the next day to do repair maintenance, actually overlay it. And there's a couple items that may need to be addressed with the sewer gates that they have on the alley itself. So the main component here that is causing the issue is the maintenance factor. Once those items are addressed, then it would be fully in front of the city council for potential public acceptance if the city council wishes to do so.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I will say, when I lived in Victoria Crossing, our streets were private and we would have loved to have had the city take them over. But as it turns out, they were paved with substandard concrete, and we would have had to essentially repave the entire subdivision before that would be able to happen. But any other discussion or a motion to adjourn? Mayor Garton? All right. Motion by the mayor is second. By Commissioner Helfrey. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you all and have a nice 4th of July holiday.
You do the same.